Hey guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Jon Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video Studios here in Burbank, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also here, Jon Schnepp.
Decided to get a haircut today. Not. What's going on?
Also here, Jeremy Jahns.
I'm not going to throw out a not joke, but I am going to address the fact that thank you, Jon, for making 7:30 feel like sleeping in via yesterday.
Not. Also here, Kristian Harloff.
I would pay top dollar to watch your hair grow out for like 2 years. Like you just can't touch it for like 2 years. That would be fantastic.
All right, guys, listen. As happens sometimes, please don't do that, by the way. As happens sometimes, a piece of news has dropped that has us pretty curious at the moment. What happened is this image has just come out. Marvel has taken to their social media and put out this image saying, it's very cryptic, just saying, save the date, January 26, 2006. That's tomorrow. Tune in at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, before we get too excited, I can't remember, one of the guys pointed out, I think it might have been Riley, pointed out that this was put out on Marvel's Twitter, Mark?
Yeah.
Yes. On Marvel's Twitter, not Marvel Studios' Twitter, which may mean something, may mean not. So maybe it's a comic book announcement, although I've never seen the comics do this sort of thing unless they're about to announce that Marvel Studios or Marvel Comics has just acquired Batman. I mean, that would be something you do an announcement over. But so let's operate on an assumption for just a second. For just a second. That maybe this is Marvel Studios, this is Marvel Movies, this is an announcement about the movie. Couple of possibilities. Number one, they're going to drop a new trailer. The reason I don't quite buy that idea, it's an announcement about a new trailer, is because generally speaking, even with their biggest trailers, Marvel usually just comes out and say, hey guys, tune in Tuesday, we got the new Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. I mean, they normally do that. So Dennis, we were sitting around the table this morning, Dennis brought up, he goes, it's got to be an announcement. It can't be a trailer. It has to be an announcement. So if it is, and let's operate on that assumption for a moment, understanding that maybe it's not, but let's operate on the assumption just for a moment that it's going to be some kind of significant announcement regarding the movie universe of Marvel. Well, we know everybody's in Guardians. We know Guardians are going to be in the Avengers films. We already know there's going to be 2 films. I don't think they'd go through this much of a big deal just to tell us, we now have the title for the 4th Avengers movie. I don't think it's a title announcement per se. Schnepp, you had some theories?
Well, we've been beating this around for the last year. I think it's Phase 4 and it's Fantastic Four. I think that's what I've been hoping for, so I'm going to keep that hope until it's smashed, the dreams destroyed at 7 a.m., or I'm jumping around like a little kid. I'd love to hear that they've got the rights back to the Fantastic Four, and that's the very first beginning of Phase 4, which would be all of the things and characters that involved Fantastic Four, like Galactus, Silver Surfer. So I think that would be really fun. That's my guess.
What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I was leaning towards the. I mean, my go-to reaction to something like that is like trailer or something. You know, like that event that you guys were at where Chadwick Boseman came out and they were like, oh, here's the next couple phases that we're doing. But I mean, the fact that it is the Marvel comic book one, not Marvel Studios, makes me shy away from that. I have no idea. Maybe they're gonna kill Spider-Gwen.
Well, it also should be pointed out that a few days ago, Marvel and Square, I believe it's a game company, said a few days ago that they were going to have an announcement coming about something. So there's a lot of people online speculating right now. This is actually a video game thing about Kingdom Hearts.
I was going to say Kingdom Hearts Marvel.
That Kingdom Hearts Marvel is something they could be looking at. Is that something they would put out? Like something as cryptic and everything like this for? Maybe. So that's always a possibility. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's not a movie thing at all. Kristian, if it is a movie thing, what could we hear tomorrow?
Well, I'll start with the fact that I think in the high 90s, it's either the game or the comics. I think that Marvel Studios or Feige or somebody else would have posted something if it was movies. But if we're going to have some fun, what I would love to see that will not happen, what I hope is a big announcement, is Marvel's doing a one-time kind of crossover. Marvel Studios doing a crossover with X-Men. I think that would be a one-time crossover. I don't see it happening, but it would be cool if they negotiated. And then the second one that I would like in the same studio is the fact that they actually got the rights back for Fantastic Four. That's what I would hope for. I don't really care to do a 7 a.m. thing for a trailer, even if it is Avengers or whatever it might be, or Thor, which it might be. It's going to be a game or a comic.
Yeah, I think there's a very high possibility this is a game or a comic. If it is something that's going to be coming, like if the stream starts tomorrow and you see Kevin Feige's face, okay, you know it's a movie thing. If it is, I'm going to go with you, Schnepp. I'm going to say it's going to be them announcing that Fox has finally realized that while they're doing a great job with their Deadpool property, while they've got many, many good films they've done with X-Men, they just can't figure out how to make Fantastic Four work. They've finally given up on it and given it back to Marvel. So if it's a movie thing, I think it's Fantastic Four going back to Marvel, just a pure guess on our part. But very high chance it's either the video game thing or a special comics announcement. All right, let's move on with the regular scheduled news of the day. Ashley, what's up first?
Right, in the most recent issue of Empire magazine, Zack Snyder was speaking about his upcoming Justice League when he was asked about the size of Superman's role in the movie. Superman was revealed to be coming back during the San Diego Comic-Con presentation this past summer, but many fans question whether it would be at the end of the movie or even by the second. Snyder revealed that Superman actually has a bigger role than previously believed. Superman does play a big part in this movie, Snyder said. His presence and lack of presence are big story points. John, what do you think about Snyder's comments regarding Superman?
It makes sense. It completely makes sense because even in Suicide Squad, you had to address, look, if the world had been introduced to Superman, this god on the earth who could do all these things, save the world, blah, 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 his sudden absence would be a major thing in the daily lives of every human being on Earth. So even Suicide Squad had to address it right off the top. You know, there was the day that Superman was here, and then there was the day that he wasn't. I mean, so that's a major thing. And it only makes sense that his absence would be a lingering issue with Bruce, with Diana, with anybody else who are about to recruit in. We already know Henry Cavill's going to be in it. He's teased the picture of the black Superman suit, so we know he's coming back. DC is playing it pretty close to the vest as far as how far into the movie can we expect to see, Kal-El return. I expect it's going to be earlier than the third act. I think we're going to see him back probably in the second act of the film. And I think it's a pretty smart move at this point for Snyder to come out and say, hey, I know all the marketing we're putting out, there's no Superman, but that's for a reason, because we don't want to give stuff away. But trust us, Superman is a key figure in this movie. I like that he's saying that. It makes sense that he's saying that. And I think it's a pretty smart idea for him to say it. Anyway, Kristian, you heard these comments. What do you think?
I agree with you 100%. I think that it makes a lot of sense. No one's was going to be fooled into that he wasn't into this movie. So you embrace it because Justice League doesn't work without Superman. But this is the first one. I think that it will happen in the second act, but the end of the second act, and we'll have a little bit of him in the third. But I think it's very similar to whether it's a Luke Skywalker situation, is that the events and trying to figure out how to deal with it, how to cope with it. There's certain things that Bruce is certainly dealing with, to how to make this all work. And then we get him back, and then he'll be front and center in part two. So I really liked the comments. I thought it was good that he addressed it.
Jeremy.
I do like the fact that Superman being gone is seen as a plot point because sometimes someone's absence is every bit as important as their presence there. So Superman's gone, then Batman and everyone are like, we don't have a defense force. Like, we're pretty vulnerable right now. So Bruce Wayne's going around putting his team together. So in that, his absence does make sense for the plot of this movie. I think we're going to get him back pretty early because it was when I saw the quote that said, Superman's going to be a big part of it, I was like, yeah, he's been pretty prominent in the trailers. And then I saw the second part that was like his absence and presence are really important things. So I'll tell you what they're going to do. Superman is gone. He's looking for the remnants of Krypton. He comes back. Thus, Superman Returns is now part of the new DC Cinematic Universe.
What do you think, Sean?
I think he's probably going to come back. Probably the dust at the end of the Batman v Superman is him going to Apocalypse in a boom tube is my guess, and he comes back maybe as a reprogrammed bad guy, and they have to fight him a little bit. That's what my guess would be, and that would probably happen in the second act. They're able to unprogram him or something along those lines. That would make sense to me. Like, he still has that codex inside of his body, which could be the regeneration or the way he becomes not dead anymore. I don't think he's going to have a big part in the film, though. I think what Zack Snyder's saying, his lack of presence is really the formation of the Justice League. That's why Batman and Wonder Woman at the end of the movie are like, we've got to honor what he was trying to, what his sacrifice was for. And so they form the League, but then he shows up. I'm guessing it's going to be more than 3 minutes. You know what I mean? It won't be at the very end, but it's not going to be a large part of the film.
I see. I always interpreted, like, at the end of Batman v Superman, when he's in the coffin and the dirt starts to rise. I've never interpreted that I mean, I could be wrong. I never interpreted that as a boom tube opening or everything. I always go back to the first Man of Steel movie.
Of course.
When he first gets the costume and he's outside and he kneels down, puts his fist on the ground, and then the dirt starts to rise off of it. So I always kind of interpreted it as that.
And you're totally right. I'm having fun with the idea of, like, maybe that's another way.
But you know what supports your theory, though, is that the fact that when he was doing that in the ground, he was in the sun. Right. He's in a box at the moment. So that goes against my theory right there. Look, it'll be really interesting to see how they do it. It feels like them fighting. Look, we just had Batman v Superman.
Right.
We just had Batman v Superman. Do we want to do Batman v Superman round 2? I don't know. Maybe the guys since Batman won that first fight, maybe they feel like they need Superman to get a 1-up too. I mean, I have no idea. What are you thinking?
I just had this great moment where Superman comes down and Batman's like, Martha, dude. And he's like, oh, you're right. You're right. And then they become pals again. It's all good.
It's all good. All right, what's next?
Last year, District 9 director Neill Blomkamp took to Instagram to share some unofficial concept art of Sigourney Weaver's Ripley from Alien, and soon after, talk began about a new movie that would ignore parts 3 and 4 and instead continue on after James Cameron's Alien sequel. Now it seems those plans might not happen at all.
No!
According to a tweet from Blomkamp, the chances of his Alien movie are actually very slim. Aside from Blomkamp's updates and some comments from Weaver herself, 20th Century Fox has never officially announced the movie. Schnepp, do you think we'll ever get that Alien movie with Neill Blomkamp directing?
Well, I mean, when that production art came out, everyone was really excited, including me, and I loved the idea of kind of skipping over Alien 3 and 4 and just going, even though it's called Alien 5, just going with, Michael Baine's still alive, but he's scarred, and Newt's still alive, and the continuation where we can kind of like have an alternate universe type thing. And then Ridley Scott came on board and did Prometheus, and they were both sort of in the same pipeline for a little bit, maybe about a half year. But when Ridley Scott said, well, this is part 1 of a trilogy, that's where I was like, you know what? They're not going to mess with Ridley Scott. And Ridley Scott was basically also producing the Alien 5 film when he came back on to do Prometheus. So it kind of scuttled Alien 5. And now that Alien Covenant's coming out, and there's one more Ridley Scott film that will then tie back right into Alien. So it'll basically be a full circle Ridley Scott fun fest. You know what I'm saying? It's like, including James Cameron. But I don't think the Neill Blomkamp thing will actually happen until Ridley Scott's done. So I think it could still happen, but it would happen in 6 or 7 years.
See, I don't think it's going to happen. And the thing is, where you're going with the Prometheus thing, I think when Prometheus came out, Blomkamp, they were still talking about this is going to happen. And they were pushing it hard that it was going to happen. I think The Martian was the reason that Blomkamp got shoved to the side, because that gave Ridley Scott the props again, because Prometheus alone wasn't universally loved. And it didn't even really, some people were, Jeremy and I got arguments about it, whether or not it was in part of the universe in general.
We had fun conversations, Kristian. Fun conversations. But this new movie now that he's putting together, Ridley Scott, that's Alien. That's Aliens. You can't deny that feels already part of the franchise, and that's the direction they want to go with it. So it's pretty much Ridley Scott looking at Blomkamp and going, "Stop that." Because it's not going to happen. He wants people to focus on his thing. He's got all the chips right now. Blomkamp's coming off a Chappie. Right. He doesn't have all the power and chips. He needs to do another movie to get himself back in the power seat, because right now he's going to keep getting, the studio's going to be able to push him around, because that's just the way it works.
Yeah, I think you cannot downplay the issue of Chappie. I don't think you can overlook that. That movie was awful.
Stoinks.
And look, I know a lot of people I was one of them. I was very, very, very excited about Elysium. I'm sorry, that movie was awful too. I did not. It wasn't as bad as Chappie, but his films got progressively worse, and I think that probably had a lot to do with it as well. But no, you guys are right. The main issue here was that Ridley Scott was No, nobody else can come and play in this sandbox right now while I'm creating stuff.
Right.
It'll confuse the brand, and he would have been right at that. And I think we were all okay with the idea that maybe he'll do one, and then Blomkamp can come in and do his thing. It doesn't look like that's happening right now. Look, we've been speculating for a while that this Blomkamp attempt at it was probably not going to happen. And after seeing that trailer, because I do not like Prometheus. I'm one of the guys that doesn't enjoy that movie. I don't think it's very good. But damn, if I ain't into that new Alien Covenant trailer. I mean, that looks like Ridley Scott really returning to form and bringing us back to that thing we wanted. It felt like watching is like, holy crap, he listened to everybody. All the positive stuff about Prometheus, and he listened to the negative stuff too. And it feels like he wrote all that down in a book, and he is just gonna kick ass with this movie. I'm super stoked about it.
Well, John, remember I love Prometheus, but remember the first trailers for Prometheus were literally used the same sound design from Alien, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be!" And it disappointed a lot of people, especially people who thought it was gonna have the creature in it and be more about Alien, and this was more about the engineers. But because those engineers were in there, that is the direct tie-in to this Alien Covenant, which is very much like James Cameron's Aliens. So I think what Scott is doing is he really is like backtracking backwards into his very first film from 1979. I think it's great, and it'll really be a really cool thing to watch all 5 of these films all the way up to Aliens, and then you can kind of like decide whether
the whole thing.
decide whether you want to go to the Monk planet. You know, the Alien 3 and 4 are like kind of disposable. I remember when the quadrilogy came out, I was like, it's still only 2 films.
Yeah.
It's like the other 2 are just supplements that you watch scenes from. So.
Yeah, that's what I got. I saw the quadrilogy, and I was like, I'll take my Alien and Aliens, and I just went home with the 2 Blu-rays. But yeah, there's a lot to be said about a director who will listen to fans like that. You know, we saw Shyamalan do it now with Split. You know, and so it looks like I agree with you that Ridley Scott did that with Prometheus. He's like, all right, you guys want to see this? Cool. Maybe it was his plan all along, where he was just like, yeah, you're gonna get Prometheus first, but the next one's going to be Alien. You have to trust me. We'll see what happens. It's an interesting world to think about. A world where Ridley Scott was doing the Prometheus movies, and then Blomkamp was doing Alien, and somehow we saw them all verge and meet. That's a really cool thought, but I agree with you. It's like The Martian came out and put Scott at the top, and then Chappie came out and put Blomkamp down, and the merging of those 2 things was like, you're not doing Alien. I love that he's doing the 99.9 thing. He's like, it could happen. It's not going to.
All right, guys, as we reach that part of the show for Rewind, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. You know, every Wednesday we talk about these films that opened up 10 years ago this week and the movies that opened up 20 years ago this week. Opening up 10 years ago, we had Smokin' Aces. That one's hard to believe. We had Epic Movie. That one was awful. And Catch and Release. Celebrating their 20th anniversaries this week, Waiting for Guffman and Meet Wally Sparks, one of the final Rodney Dangerfield films. Schnepp, which of these films stand out to you?
Well, Smokin' Aces was I think it's Joe Carnahan, I'm pretty sure. But
yeah, I think he did.
It was a fun film. I remember seeing that. It's not the greatest film in the world, but it was fun. But the one that really sticks out for me is Waiting for Guffman. I mean, that's just incredible. It started that fun group of films that all those guys made. I think they're still making them, but Waiting for Guffman is one of the greatest ones. So.
What do you think, Jeremy?
Man, Smokin' Aces 10 years ago. I remember when that movie came out. Now, like every time this happens, there's that one movie like, yeah, I am old as shit. I'm saying, oh, crud. That's great. Sorry. Smokin' Aces is the big one because I had Jeremy Piven coming on Entourage, and I really like that. And Chris Pine is in it, so we got young Jim Kirk is in that movie. So when I heard that they're coming out with a new movie with a Star Trek movie with Chris Pine, I went back and then I watched it. And I'm like, that guy's Kirk. That's cool. It's that movie in Blockbuster. I saw the poster for it, and then I never watched it or got it, but that poster is really clear in my head. But it's Smokin' Aces for sure.
It was strange enough. It was Wally Sparks for me because I'm a big Rodney Dangerfield fan.
I imagine it was.
And Easy Money, Back to School, Caddyshack, and just a lot of his specials I love, but it's not good. It's not good. I remember being very disappointed when I saw it, especially that was one of the last times you get to see him. But Smoking Ace is another one that stands out. Carnahan really, I think, for a January movie, had fun with it. But Catch and Release is a movie that I actually saw recently. I mean, probably like maybe 5-6 months ago. Not too bad. It was for a January release. I want to know. I would love to go back and do the history of January releases. Like, because it's,
Find that one January that was good.
But just when the dark side really took over January, I really just like everything will smell.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder when the transformation actually happened. But anyway, those movies, Smoking Aces, Catch and Release, don't fit into the normal stink bombs of January.
Is Catch and Release like about fishing? What's it about?
No. She's friends with Kevin Smith, and she's trying to kind of figure her life out, ex-husband stuff. It's more of like a romantic film.
Okay.
Then for me, it's Smoking Aces. I did enjoy the film. It should have been better than it was because the way it was marketed like a smoking
Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie. It felt very much like a Guy Ritchie.
Knew where you were
film.
going with that. Yeah.
Felt completely like a Guy Ritchie film, which is what got me in there. And this was right around the time when Jeremy Piven was really hot because of Entourage, and everybody thought he was going to be a big star. Like he's already. Jeremy Piven's a big star, but like next level, high, big star. Smoking Aces didn't quite do it. And then do you remember they did that? He did that comedy. The Goods, Live Hard, Sell Hard.
What is that?
He did that with. It was a comedy with Ving Rhames. Catherine Hahn, I believe, was in it, where he's a car salesman.
Oh, that
He's
came
like
out like
Yeah, it was in
about
theaters for like
2009 or something like
that.
that.
Yeah, it was in theaters like 6 minutes,
Yeah.
and then it left, and it's like, and then he just kind of went away. And then it was never. Now he's had some really big success in the UK on television, and then they did the Entourage thing again. And I thought he was great in the Entourage movie, but that's the one that stands out to me the most when I think about them. Going to the one 20 years ago, I remember Waiting for Guffman.
Oh yeah.
I remember loving that movie. I'll be honest with you. I really enjoyed that
All
movie.
their films, A Mighty Wind.
Yeah.
they made
Best in Show.
Yeah, Best
Best
in
in
Show is
Show.
also
That's one of my
incredible. So
favorites.
if you check out Waiting for Guffman, and then if you like it, check out all their other films. They made about 4 different films with the same cast.
All right, guys, reach that part of the show now for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ash, she's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ash, what do we got?
After first being hired to run the Godzilla universe writing room, Variety now reports that Krampus director Michael Dougherty has been officially confirmed as directing the next installment in the monster movie franchise with Godzilla 2. Screen Crush first reported the news that Dougherty was in talks to direct back in October, around the time when news first broke that Dougherty and his Krampus co-writer, Zach Shields, would also be writing the script. Now, after months of work in the writer's room, Legendary officially extended the offer for him to direct. The movie is set for release on March 22nd, 2019. Kristian, buy or sell Michael Dougherty directing Godzilla 2.
I'm going to have to sell it right now because I didn't care about Krampus. I thought it was pretty dopey, to be honest. I liked the premise of it. I thought that it was going to be an interesting movie, and then it was asinine, to be honest with you. But I haven't seen a trailer yet. If you did, I'm going off of, like I've been saying every day here, what have you done for me lately? And I just didn't like the guy's movie. I don't know his body of work. I don't know enough about it. But you're asking me on that, plus teaming up with the guy who helped him with Krampus, and the fact that I'm a big Godzilla fan. I didn't love the last one with Gareth Edwards. I liked the very beginning of it. Then all the way up into the end was, to me, garbage. And then the end paid off. So I want to see how Kong Skull Island's going to play out too, because I might not want a monster movie. I think I'm going to after Skull Island. But right now with this dude, yeah, I'm just going to sell it for now until I see the trailer.
Your selling makes a dog's purpose dog sad. Look at him.
God,
He's
that's the
very
saddest
sad.
looking dog. Every time I look over at Christian, I just hear that Sarah McLachlan song singing back to me. It's just the worst. Oh, man, it's brutal.
I'm going to also sell this, unfortunately, for now. Look, I'm going to give it a chance. I'm totally going to give it a chance when it comes out. But for now, look, besides Krampus, he also did Trick or Treat, which I know a lot of horror fans really enjoy Trick or Treat. I was a little bit late to the Trick or Treat party, so I already heard all the hoopla, and then I watched it. I was like, this actually isn't very good. At least to me it wasn't. So I didn't really enjoy Trick or Treat. I didn't really enjoy Krampus. That doesn't mean that this Godzilla thing isn't up his alley. Maybe it'll be great. Who knows?
He might have a great take.
He might have a wonderful idea for it, and we'll see. We'll give it a shot when it comes out. But just for now, for me, it's a sell.
Yeah, for now it's a sell also. I mean, to be clear, if I heard that this unknown Gareth Edwards fellow was directing Godzilla and I was here a few years ago, I'd probably be like, sell. Who's that guy? But I'm with Christian. I need to see a trailer trailer first, but going on what I've seen, one thing that Gareth Edwards did really, really well, was represent the size of Godzilla. This monster was enormous, and you felt it. I haven't seen that with Krampus. I don't know how tall that dude was. I think he was about 6 foot something, right? I don't know, because plus in Trick or Treat, you didn't get that either, so I don't know what he's going to bring to Godzilla that's necessary for a Godzilla film. So going to have to sell, but I need to see a trailer.
Schnepp.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to also sell it as well, and it's mainly because of Krampus. I'm in the house. I love Trick or Treat. I think it's a really fun. It's a callback to Creepshow. I think Dougherty loves the horror genre, but Krampus is just a nightmare. It's has nothing to do with not only the mythology of Krampus. It's just a really bad film. It can't decide whether it's a comedy or a horror film. It's not funny. It's not horrific. It fails on so many levels. For myself, I went in there wanting to see a really good film, and I came out so crushed and disappointed that, I mean, for me, he's got to knock it out of the park with Godzilla 2 for me to ever see any one of his films again. So that he's doing and directing Godzilla and writing it with the same people who wrote Krampus is pretty horrible, because the sense of humor and the way to balance stuff out is not there. It's like really corny and bad, or not scary and goofy.
Well, the shift on this, the positive spin could be, what if the horror genre really isn't their thing? And I know Godzilla has horror elements, obviously, but maybe more of the action kind of fun sci-fi thing is more up his alley, and we'll see that with the writer. I'm still selling it.
He also wrote Superman Returns, so I mean,
Nice.
There's a lot of things in there that
That's the second reference to Superman Returns that happened in this episode, guys. Something's in the air.
Anyway, I want Godzilla 2 to be really good, so I'm holding out. I'm just saying I'm selling the idea of him directing, but if I see a trailer and then the movie is great, I'll be so happy.
All right, what's next?
THR reports that The Punisher's Thomas Jane is in final negotiations to join Boyd Holbrook, Keegan-Michael Key, and Olivia Munn in Shane Black's reboot of The Predator. The movie is actively casting as it gears up for its February start date in Vancouver. Plot details are still under wraps, but THR recently revealed that the movie will feature many different Predators and not just one. The movie is slated for release on February 9, 2018. Jeremy, buy or sell Thomas Jane in The Predator?
I'm going to buy Thomas Jane in The Predator, because I'm one of those rare people. I liked his Punisher movie. I did. I just enjoy it. And I think he's good in that wheelhouse of man of few words, but man of action. I don't like the fact that there's multiple Predators. I just want that feeling of old Predator coming back, where it's one who's just taking out all these military folks. But I suppose if you want exactly that, you have that. It's on Blu-ray. It's on DVD. It's on VHS. It came out years ago, if not decades ago. So I buy Thomas Jane. Still on the fence about the movie.
Schnepp.
I buy his casting and all the other recent casting for The Predator. I like that Shane Black is making it, so I'm very comfortable with whatever he's going to do in this sci-fi horror genre. It's like, I'm excited about it. It's not going to be Predators. It's definitely going to be a callback. I think that this team of people that they just announced is the crew, sort of like how Dutch had his group of people. We're going to get a new group of people to fight this one Predator, and then they're going to reveal that it's not just that one Predator, it's Predators. So I think it's kind of exciting.
I'm going to buy this simply because I love Thomas Jane. Right now, I'm not feeling super optimistic about the new movie per se. There's a lot of things in there to be hopeful about, so I'm hanging on to that. But I do love the addition of Thomas Jane. Do you guys, not just because he was a great Punisher, even though the movie had its problems, he was a great Punisher. Do you guys remember, I think it was on HBO, that show he did, Hung?
Yeah, the first 2 seasons were good.
I thought the show was really good the first couple of seasons. I even think it finished okay, but it went downhill a little bit. But I thought he was great in that, so I'm just happy he's going to be in something big again. What do you think?
I'll buy him in it because I could see him fitting with the crew, and I'm a big Predator fan. I still want another good sequel because the first one's the only good one. I just am starting to get nervous with this movie, and I like Shane Black, and I think he's a guy to do it. I'm wondering what the hell this thing's going to be. There's rumors about the suburbs, but that was then squashed. There's so many people in this movie now. Should we just focus on the one Predator? It's the same conversation we just had, is give me a trailer, and then I'm changing my whole entire outlook here. But I'm starting to get a little nervous that it's starting to get very busy.
We should probably point out, too, that The Hollywood Reporter is now putting out what they are calling an exclusive that I believe who's in The Room, Jacob Tremblay, the kid from The Room. They're saying he has joined the movie, and they're using the terminology lead. that he's going to be the lead of the
The
film.
kid's a good actor, but that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because
What's he
how is
doing?
it not like
Just
he's-
Home Alone with
he's
predators?
in school? Right. That's what I thought. I thought of what was it? It was Toy Soldiers or something, where it's like Predator comes to his
he
school.
starts setting traps for the
Right,
predators.
right.
and
Yeah. Now I want to see that.
Now
movie.
it's in the suburbs. Now we know
Or
this.
what if a young, like back in the day, the last time the Predators were here, one of the Predators, killed a family, but realized, oh, now I feel bad because there's a surviving baby, and he befriends the baby, and now it's like Marley and Me, where it's this little boy who's got a pet predator that is like his bodyguard. It's terrible.
Wait. To shift it to the positive again, and I know some people don't like her, but for the particular storyline it worked, Newt worked for Aliens, so it could be something like that.
But Newt is supporting, not lead.
Good point. Thanks for squashing my horse.
Sorry, Harloff. Look behind you. That dog looks more sad.
Okay, Wendy, there's actually more details about this. What do we know about this so far at this point?
So, according to the article on The Hollywood Reporter, it says that Tremblay will be playing the son of Holbrook's character, who is an ex-Marine, and that he is the son is autistic and bullied in school, but becomes a key player in the fight due to his prenature to ability to learn languages. So that's kind of interesting.
So he
twist.
makes friends with a predator. No.
He's gonna speak Predator.
Oh, he's
He's
probably
like
gonna be able
Amy
to-
Adams in
Yeah,
Arrival.
he's going to be able to use the little button, like the nuclear
It's gonna be
codes
like, I
thing.
got it.
Yeah.
When he goes, he means, do you want to be my friend?
That was
It's all
pretty good.
Oh, thank you. I have my
I-
talent. Sometimes
snoring.
cameras are on.
Yes, his snoring. All right, what's next?
Warner Brothers has released a new trailer for director Guy Ritchie's upcoming fantasy action film, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. The retelling of the classic story stars Charlie Hunnam as Arthur, a reimagining of the boy who would be king, who finds himself squaring off against his tyrannical uncle Jude Law when he discovers the truth of his royal heritage. The film also stars Eric Bana and Jaimin Hansu. It opens in theaters on May 12, 2017. John, buy or sell the new trailer for King Arthur.
Let me preface this. I love Guy Ritchie. I love Guy Ritchie as a director. Snatch is one of my all-time favorites. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, fantastic. Rock and Roll is pretty fun. I like the Sherlock Holmes takes as well. The first one more than the second one. And I'm always going to be loyal to Charlie Hunnam, dude. He'll always be Jax to me from Sons of Anarchy. Always be Jax. I thought the Comic-Con trailer was intriguing. It was because it was so different than what any of us thought that trailer was going to be. But I got to sell this spot because it's just not a good spot. I mean, it's only a minute long, and about 45 seconds of that minute is just a close-up of boots walking. and they've peppered in with a couple of shots that we already saw in the Comic-Con trailer 6 months ago.
Right.
So I don't think it's any reflection on how good or bad the movie is going to be, but this is I would say it's a piss-poor spot for them to put out. What did you think, Schnepp?
I agree. Are we selling this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I
I'm selling
did.
this. Yeah, I'm selling it. If this is any indication of what the movie is going to be, it's going to be a mixture of weird shots and no real story and let's lock the camera onto the dude while he's running. It feels like, because we saw that in the trailer, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that was kind of fun in the trailer, but I still had no clear idea as to what the take is on this version of Arthur. From the original trailer, this gives me nothing but, shots of boots, a bloody, somebody's playing chess, a couple. I mean, it's really all over the place. I know this film has been delayed multiple times. They've had multiple reshoots. They've had nightmare screenings where people just were like, this is garbage, and they've had to redo the entire film, basically. I don't know what this is going to be, but I'm going to watch Excalibur.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm with you in that I'm a huge fan of Guy Ritchie from Snatch back. So I guess I'm a fan of a couple of his movies. But he is a talented director, and when you see this spot, you do see that there are shots that are great in it. But I agree with you. This spot is it's 60 seconds of just people walking, and then this slow burn of this text appears, and it's like something we already knew about King Arthur. And so it's just, then it ends, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I have to do movie talk now. So we're gonna, because I watched it right before I came on movie talk, and so I like Guy Ritchie's older stuff, but I always felt that his smaller budget stuff was really his zone where he should shine, and I think he should go back to that.
You know what? I was watching this 1 minute spot. I was fully expecting there'd be a shot of a little boy with an ice cream cone in slow motion as the ice cream falls to the ground. It's a spot that feels like that's about to happen. You know what I mean?
It's a jaw
What do you
drop.
think?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I have a lot of money left in my pocket because I'm selling this thing. Also. It just is. I didn't like the first spot at all at the Comic-Con one. It just. And you can say the same thing for Sherlock Holmes. A lot of people probably didn't think that his style would fit a Sherlock Holmes movie, but he made it work. The first one.
The first one did.
His style doesn't look like it meshes with this at all. Like there's one shot in the very beginning that they use in both trailers, and it's following Charlie Hunnam, and it's just erratic. And I'm like, I get your style. I know how you shoot, but give me the movie. Let me see. Let me learn about the story. Don't just say this is a Guy Ritchie movie. So you're gonna get all these crazy shots. It works for, and the dialogue is also why I like movies like Snatch. If that type of dialogue works in an Arthur movie, sure. But I want to see what the hell the story is. This is like you said. It's just a matter of crazy shots, jumping, a couple of sword slashes here and there with Charlie Hunnam. And I didn't know what the hell the movie is, and it looks disappointing. I'm not surprised that test screenings say this is garbage.
Yeah, look, again, I think I was just shocked and surprised by that Comic-Con trailer. I still think there's a chance that this thing could actually end up being pretty good. But again, I agree with everything all of you are saying. There's also a lot of potential in here it could stink.
That's actually a really cool thing for you. It's like you have the knowledge of that trailer that I never saw personally. I don't know if you guys saw it also, but you're like, I saw something great once.
Oh, did they not release that?
No, they released it.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I
okay.
think they did.
Yeah.
Pretty
Why
sure
wouldn't
did.
they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, then never mind. That's totally gone. Cheers.
Good. I took it back from you.
All right, guys. Well, yesterday we did a special movie talk at 7 a.m. talking about the Oscar nominations, and one of the films that's getting an awful lot of Oscar buzz, has got a lot of Oscar nominations in his pockets right now, is Hidden Figures. We were lucky enough that director Theodore Melfi came into our studio to sit down and talk to us a little bit. Our own Perry Nemiroff had a chat with him. Check that out.
Can you tell me a little bit about just the start of all of this for you? Because I know, I believe I read in the notes that you went after this project. So what do you have to do to kind of win the chance to direct something like Hidden Figures?
Well, I at the time I was up for Spider-Man. Yeah.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Did you choose between the two?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
And I was up for Spider-Man. Spider-Man was going to give us, Marvel was going to give us an answer on Monday, right? And it had been a 4-month process with them. And on Friday, my agents called me and said, "We know you're going to hear about Spider-Man on Monday, but you have to hear the story." And so they tell me the story. They said in 1962, there was a team of women that were integral putting a man into space, and those women were black women. And I went, "Shut up!" I went, "Shut up!" Really? I said, "You have to send it to me." So I read it on that weekend. I read it on Saturday. On Monday, I called and said, "I can't do Spider-Man." So I withdrew from Spider-Man, and I said, I want to do this. And I just met with the producer and told her all the reasons why I should do it. And she said yes, and there we are.
Now, I imagine you're super happy you made that decision. Back then, you have something like Spider-Man. St. Vincent was your feature directorial debut, right?
My second film. but yeah.
Second film. So at that point, I imagine, you want something that's going to, make your name a household name, and you turn down Spider-Man. So was there anyone in your life, an agent or a manager, who said to you, like, are you crazy?
No. Strangely enough, my agents said this was the one to do. I don't know why. I mean, they said you're going to not make any money, it's good, but you'll be fulfilled and you'll make something that matters. So, no, my wife was the same way. Kimberly Quinn, she produced the film with me, and I don't know. Not one person said you should do Spider-Man.
You got some smart people in your life.
Yeah.
Oh,
the reason is
that's
I grew up. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. Of all the comics in the world, Spider-Man's my favorite. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn. I mean, Spider-Man's my jam, right? But I've seen it, so like I seen it and I love it, and I can't wait to see this new iteration of it. But this was a chance to do something more important for me.
All right, now speaking of directors of movies and upcoming movies, a brand new episode of Nightmares dropped this morning with very special guest, director Paul W.S. Anderson of the Resident Evil franchise. He was a guest on Nightmares today. It's up on the channel right now. Just go down, check it out. Find the new Nightmares episode with special guest Resident Evil director Paul W.S. Anderson and his conversation with the crew there. I also want to remind you.
I wanted to butt in really quick. You know what else he directed? Mortal Kombat!
Should be pointed out that Mortal Kombat director Paul W.S. Anderson is on Nightmares today, so go and check that out. Also, a brand new Team Schmodown went up. Tell us about it.
Yeah, a little bit of controversy. Again, I'm getting sick of these freaking controversies. We've got to replay the third round of the team match, and that'll happen on Friday. So ETC and Tough Beats will play the third round right before Riley and Levine on Friday.
And if you want to know what kind of controversy he's talking about, go and check out the original match, which is up and online right now. Went up, I believe yesterday went up. And also, of course, a new Awesome-tacular went up this past Friday with Jeremy Jahns on the Verizon Go 90 network. You can go and see that now. All right, guys, it is time for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can just email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. I also want to remind you that at the end of the show, we're going to save some time to take some of your live Twitter questions if you're watching this live. Just tweet your questions to us at Collider Video. But for now, let's get to the Mailbag. Ashley, what do we got?
Andy writes, hey Collider people, now that there's a new Terminator and James Cameron is coming back, I noticed it said reboot and conclusion of the franchise. I wanted to know what you thought that meant, but main question, should they just reboot it and ignore everything before and start fresh?
Okay, so
That's great.
it's a reboot
Right.
and conclusion. How does that make sense? I'm not quite sure what they think they mean by that. Yes, they should just reboot it at this time. Look, I mentioned this on the show the other day. I have my doubts this is even going to happen. James Cameron is completely wrapped up and completely tied up with his of Avatar. 3 more sequels coming at the same time. We understand Tim Story's supposed to be brought on.
Sorry, 4 sequels.
4 more sequels. Look, he's got another director to come on. I still have my doubts it's going to happen. I want to see it. But I just have my doubts it's actually going to happen at this point. And then it's the reboot yet conclusion. It's one or the other. What do you make of this, Schnepp?
Well, I think James Cameron is going to come on board in an advisory role, and what he said about it is that he's going to hire a slew of amazing science fiction writers to just think tank not only this Terminator reboot conclusion thing, but when they're saying it's a reboot / conclusion, I think they're going to continue on some of those elements of the storylines from all of the previous 5 and kind of conclude those, but reboot the franchise by going through some other time warp time period. So I think it is going to be both a reboot and a conclusion of the previous 5 and a brand new Terminator series where it will be a new trilogy. So that's my guess, is they're going to say, this is a reboot, but we're going to address some of these time warp issues, because Terminator is all about time travel. It's going from the future to save the past. So I think there's a smart way to do it, but before they even say what their story is going to be, they're basically saying what their agenda is going to be. It's going to not throw away the other 5 films, but it's going to conclude whatever those storylines are, but it's going to open up a brand new Terminator. With James Cameron back, he's going to get the rights back in literally another year. So that's the other reason that he'll come on board, but he's not going to be he's not going to write the script. He's going to just advise it. So.
Jeremy?
Yeah, it's an interesting phrasing, reboot / conclusion. But the problem is the previous Terminator movies don't work with the previous Terminator movies. Like the timeline of Terminator Genesis doesn't work with Terminator 3, which doesn't really work with Terminator Salvation. It all just, for me, it goes back to it concluded in Terminator 2. I thought that was a great wrap up where they're like, there's no fate but what we make for ourselves. Boom, we changed the future. It's all done. It's fantastic. Whether or not they're going to springboard off of that and then reboot / conclude in the same movie, I have no idea. But with time travel and multiverse, anything is possible. But I agree, James Cameron's going to be like, oh, I'm producing, which means he's going to show up and be like, you're still doing that movie? Yeah, great. I'm going to go back to Avatar. And then he's going to get his paycheck or whatever he's going to do. I don't know how they're going to do it, but Terminator 1 and 2 are great, guys. Check them out.
Kristian?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you guys that he's just going to kind of look off and be like, yeah, give me my check. I'm taking off.
I'm not saying that.
I am.
Terminator, to me, is something that really made his career, Piranha not included. But I think that the fact that Terminator, what he did with the 84 version, then the way he changed the game again with Terminator 2, I wasn't confused with the reboot and conclusion. I think what he wants to do, he's going to really what Schnepp was saying, is reboot a lot of the story points that he didn't like from like 3, 4, and 5, whatever those were, and continue on from number 2. So it is a reboot of a lot of the mythology, continuing on and then concluding and ending the story the way he and these think tank people want to do it. I think he's going to be very involved in it. I think that John's right to where he's going to be super busy because he's doing all these Avatar. I personally don't think all these Avatar movies are going to happen. I think some of them will, not all of them. But I think that he's going to be involved pretty heavily in Terminator. We'll find a good director. I think that we talked about this on Movie Talk like a year and a half ago. when he was given that nonsense, but oh yeah, it's great. He knew it wasn't going to do good. He knew he was getting the rights back. He knew it. He just wanted to have his word out there that he knew they don't know how to do it without him. It's his baby. He created it, so I think that he's going to have a lot to do with it.
Didn't he say at one point that he had evolved past Terminator? Like when Avatar
Yes.
was coming out, I think he said something like, "I am beyond Terminator."
Because the
now."
rights were nowhere in his sight at that point.
Well, and also let's not forget Terminator 3D, which he produced. It was part of a ride, but it was also this whole like 7-minute
fun.
sequence with,
Yeah.
and it's great. And that fits into that same world. It's like stuff that a lot of people have never seen. Check it out.
Yeah.
So it's online.
All right, what's next?
Milan writes, "Hi Collider guys and girls, greetings from England. While reading the recently announced Oscar nominations, I couldn't help but notice Suicide Squad was nominated for hair and makeup, which is fair enough, but still, I admit it annoys me a bit that Suicide Squad is now technically an Oscar-nominated film. My question is this, what are some of the worst films or films you didn't think deserved an Oscar nomination in any category?"
Well, I mean, that brings up a great point. I had a lot of people tweeting me yesterday, like, outraged. How dare the Academy Award nominate Suicide Squad? How can Suicide Squad get an Oscar nomination and Captain America Civil War not get an Oscar? Because it was the hair and makeup category, which has absolutely nothing to do with how good the movie is. It's how good they do hair and makeup. And you know what? I'm going to admit, when I heard them say Suicide Squad under the category of hair and makeup, I was caught off guard. But then I stopped for a second, thought about it, went, actually, yeah. Yeah, they did a really damn good job with the hair and makeup in that movie. And regardless of what you think of the movie as a whole, it deserved to be nominated in that category. Much like, Best Original Song. Well, the movie could be a complete piece of garbage that a Best Original Song comes from, but they're not asking how good's the movie that your song is from. They're asking how good was the song? How good was your supporting actor performance? How good was the visual effects? If the category is visual effects, they're not measuring the value of the movie as a whole. They're honoring that one category. So while it is funny to say, Captain America Civil War, Deadpool, 0 Oscar nominations, Suicide Squad, an Academy Award nominated film, you just got to understand how it's all phrased and how it all is right. As far as the other stuff, I'll leave that up to you guys. What are some of the ones that are really odd to you?
Brave, get it out of there. Brave is an okay movie at best. There's no reason A, it should have been nominated, and B, should have won. Again, especially the Lego movie was screwed. I think that it was the same year.
No. That was the Wreck-It Ralph year.
That was the Wreck-It
Wreck-It
Ralph year.
Ralph
Right, okay.
should have won Best Animated Film that year.
Okay, well, Brave, right. So when Brave was nominated, the movie is okay, and I couldn't believe that it was nominated and touted as high. I couldn't believe it. I remember we were watching, I think it was your place, and people were booing when it won. So, yeah, that's the one I would think of.
Well, the one that sticks out to me that didn't get nominated, which is why we now have 10 nominations, is The Dark Knight, where it's we had 5 nominations, and a lot of people are like, well, it's a superhero movie, and why should that get nominated? It was actually,
I think it got 8 nominations, I think, yeah.
It should have been nominated for Best Picture, and I think, that's one of the ones where, definitely Heath Ledger deservedly won as the Joker, because that was one of the best performances of that year. But, so it's easy to discount something if it's in a genre film, like science fiction or horror or action or superhero action now, where it's that's not a real movie. It has to be drama-based or a biography about somebody who actually lived or some social issues. Those are the ones that usually get nominated. But it's nice to see that they've opened it up a little bit. As far as Suicide Squad, yeah, I would prefer that Star Trek Beyond won for makeup, but I'm not, I didn't vote for these things, so it's I thought the makeup in Suicide Squad is great. I don't know if it's Oscar nomination worthy, but whoever nominated that and whoever ends up voting for that, then that's who's going to win.
Yeah, I think Nolan's been snubbed 3 times at least, at the Oscars. But it does kind of show an objectivity of the Academy, where they're I really doubt a lot of people who voted for the makeup in this movie think this movie is good, but they were but the makeup was good, so I'm going to vote for that movie. So many people would be well, the movie sucks, so does the makeup, and the two are not the same. Every year there's something that's ridiculous. The Transformers movies always get nominated for Best Sound Design or Sound Editing or something like that.
And deservedly so.
Right. But this is the thing, is that the Golden Compass, Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor, I mean, every year there's that movie where you're that's not good, but for the category that it's nominated in, it's deservedly nominated for that, and Suicide Squad is just one of those cases.
The Golden Compass was spectacular.
Right, it was.
Those polar bears were amazing.
It does remind me a lot. I remember a few Oscars ago, I think Jon Stewart was hosting the Oscars, and this is before Martin Scorsese had ever won his Academy Award. And 3-6 Mafia won the Academy Award for It's Hard Out There for a Pimp. For
There's the music.
The Terrence Howard film.
It's hard out there for a pimp. What was that
No,
song?
3-6
Hustle and
Mafia
Flow.
was-
Hustle and Flow.
Are you
Hustle
sure?
and Flow, yeah, it's for Hustle and Flow. And I remember Jon Stewart came out after 3-6 Mafia won their Academy Award and said, "For those of you at home keeping score, 3-6 Mafia 1 Oscar, Martin Scorsese 0." And it is weird when you think about it in those contexts.
Right.
All right, guys, I said we'd save a few minutes for your live Twitter questions, and we're going to do that right now. Once again, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Collider Video. Send us in some questions. Wendy, what have you picked out?
First one comes from A. Clay, who writes, Sing just broke the record for highest grossing movie to never reach #1, beating My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Wow.
Thoughts?
That's actually
That's an interesting fact.
Honestly, I'll tell you right now, I thought that record, I had not heard that before. So I mean, I haven't fact checked this. Maybe you're full of shit. I don't know. But if you're right, Sing.
Yeah, what is the record? I missed
I was Big Fat Greek Wedding. I thought that My Big Fat Greek Wedding record was one that would never be touched. When you look at how much money it made, and it was never #1 at the box office, I honestly thought that record would never be touched. But it was funny because I think it was during the box office report we did on Monday. I was looking at saying it's like at the time on Monday it was like $250 million domestically alone.
Wow.
And was never #1. So you know what? Kudos to Sing.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that was a record that would never be broken. I love that first My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I thought that was great. And you guys have thoughts?
It's just it's a bit of a different time
Yeah.
now, and it's still, even though if it did beat it, it's a nice pat on the back, but it still doesn't really take away from what that movie did, Big Fat Greek Wedding, because
Right.
it was such a small budget. No one saw it coming. It wasn't aimed really towards anyone in general, as where Sing is a kid's movie, and there was nothing around, so they were able to keep making and generating that money, and it had a big studio kind of pushing it in marketing. So it doesn't really surprise me that could happen with that type of budget behind it, and I don't think it still takes away from what Big Fat Greek Wedding
It doesn't. In fact, My Big Fat Greek Wedding was the little engine that could, because
Right.
it was in theaters for, it was like
Forever.
forever, and that's why it made
in the
that
top
money.
10
It
forever.
just kept making that money. Every weekend, people would, did you see that? Oh, I'll definitely go see that. And there was like word of mouth, like, you got to go see that movie. Very small independent films. It wasn't playing in like 3,000 theaters like Sing, when it opened, is playing.
Right.
So I don't really count it as even in the same universe. It doesn't matter that Sing made this much
But even
money.
in today's time, it is weird to think about a movie domestically making like $260 million, and yet was never even #1 at any point. So
Right.
it is really interesting.
Especially in a time where everything, even more so, is very McDonald's. It's very here and now. It's like, this matters now, right? Next week, the next thing that didn't matter, that thing that mattered last week doesn't matter now, because we're on to the next thing, and Sing just kind of trickled along. I remember Greek Wedding. I worked in the movie theater when that movie
Really?
came out. Yeah, and it was just like, we're not losing that movie again, because it was this steady trickle. It was never a full faucet. It was just drip, 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 drip for months.
Certainly didn't happen for part 2.
Yeah, no. That did not happen for part 2. Part 2
Was
came
in
and
and out.
went. It was part of that. Nope, now it's gone. In fact, I don't think anyone cared leading up to it. But yeah, I mean, and then the next thing will come along and beat Sing in about 15 years or so. So we'll see what happens then.
But honestly, if you haven't seen the original My Big Fat Greek Wedding, don't bother with the short-lived television series. Don't bother with part 2. But see, there was a TV series lasting like 5 episodes.
Yeah.
But
They've been
go make
milking
sure
it.
you see My Big Fat Greek Wedding. All right, what's next?
Wade Aiken writes, if Wonder Woman is great, do you think Patty Jenkins will get more DC movies, and will she be considered an A-list director?
Well, here's the thing. If Wonder Woman is great, Patty Jenkins probably won't do any more DC movies, because she's going to get a hell of a lot of offers from everybody else. It will be a bit of a struggle for them to get her to come back. Now, I'm sure, much like their actors, that Warner Bros. And DC probably signed a multi-film deal with her, should they decide to have her back. Would they want her to do more films if Wonder Woman really crushes it? I think they'd be desperate to work with her again, absolutely. But her dance card is going to get awful full, because if she can come in and crush Wonder Woman, then she becomes a prestige player in this town. And there's going to be a lot of, if she's an artistic director like we all believe she is, there's going to be a lot of projects offered to her that'll probably be very appealing to her. None that probably would carry the paycheck that another DC movie would, but it's going to be tough. What do you think?
I would say she's probably locked in to do the sequel for Wonder Woman.
Probably.
So they probably have her on contract for that, and if they want to use that, if it does well, she'll probably come back for that, or at least negotiate for it. But other movies, no. As far as the question, will she be an A-lister? Yeah, if this thing, I mean, from the trailer alone, it's the style that so far, and you got to remember, this is the first time we're ever going to see Wonder Woman leading a film, a feature film, and she will be responsible, if it is great, for the director that did that. And did it in a grand way. So absolutely she'll be getting some big opportunities.
Yeah, she might have that multi-picture deals, but lawyers are for it. They'll clean all that stuff up. You're right. A lot of offers going to come her way. DC's going to offer her a lot more if Wonder Woman crushes, but there is a company out there that could offer her more, and that is Marvel, and that's Marvel and Disney, folks. Let's get them, get her on their side. That's what they'd be thinking, honestly. If you have someone who crushes Wonder Woman, and then you're Marvel, if I were there, I'd be like, how do we get her over here? So that,
hey, Star Trek's J.J. Abrams was brought over to do Star Wars.
Right.
I mean, anything can happen.
What I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget she directed Monster. You know, I mean, she's been
she's
an A-list
great.
director already, but just not the big budget
Right.
A-list director. So I think, you know, she's got her own films that she probably wants to get made, and with the success, if Wonder Woman is a success, I'd see her probably making some of her own films, you know, and then maybe doing another big budget film, which would probably be the sequel to Wonder Woman.
All right, let's take two more.
All right, this one comes from Jorah, the Explorer, who writes, would you like to see Oscar-type movies come out more evenly throughout the year rather than all at the end of the year? Thanks.
Yes, as a fan, I would, but from a business point of view, I totally get it. Just yesterday, the studio announced, look, Arrival is coming back into theaters.
Really?
Yeah, I believe on January 27th, they're going to put it back in theaters.
It's got to thrill you.
Yeah, if you want to waste your time there, go ahead. So, but this is the thing. This is why that these studios, when they know they have a film that's going to get Oscar attention, they want to put it out at that time. Why? Because that's when they're going to make their best business, because the Oscar nominations are going to come out. There's going to be all the buzz. More people will be interested in the film than they would previously. And so as a fan, yeah, I would love to see some of these great movies in February and March. Absolutely. But I get where they're coming from and why they do it that way. Any other thoughts?
Well,
Okay.
go ahead.
No, this is a Schnepp right here, man. This is you.
I was going to say, well, if they release it, you know, obviously nobody wants to come out in January. But if the films start trickling out February, March, April, unfortunately, the people who are voting for the Oscars forget about those movies, because there's the giant influx of all the giant big budget action films, April, May, June, July, August, and then the Oscar films start coming out. So I don't really mind that it's separated like that, because it helps me keep my focus on, like, all right, these are the movies that are coming out within these 5 months that the people who are making them are hopeful that, you know, will be eligible for an Oscar, as opposed to more of the popcorn fare, as in like just an action fun film or adventure film or a family film. Not to say that they're not trying to win an Oscar with any film, but I think it just helps just as far as memory, because there's thousands and thousands of movies that come out every year.
I don't know, man. The Academy seemed to remember Suicide Squad.
Bringing it back.
That's right.
I think that we also got to remember that human beings in general have short memories. Yep. So I think that, you know, and that includes the Oscar committee. So they've got there's so many movies that people watch throughout the year that I wouldn't want to release my Oscar movies early in the year, because it's like you put a really great movie out there. You put La La Land in like January or February. By the time it gets to December with all this other stuff, no matter when it comes out, even if you're spacing them out, you're gonna forget it, because the amount of movies these people see. Unless you go back and revisit it again, you're going to forget about it. So I think that it's a good time when they do it the way they do it.
And it also, sorry, just interjecting, it also does force moviegoers to watch the Oscar films a little more. Like if they trickled out, if it was coming out the same weekend of whatever Marvel movie in May, June, July, August, people would go to the big budget movie, and then that movie would just get swept under the rug and forgotten. But in December, it's like 90% Oscar movies, Star Wars aside. So what are we going to watch? Well, I guess we'll watch that Oscar movie. So it does bring it to the wide audience a little more to do it that way, I think.
And Rogue One is, by the way, an Academy Award nominated film. All right, last question of the day.
Well, funny that you brought up The Arrival coming back in theaters, because that was going to be the last question. I'll pick a different one, but it is coming back with 8 more minutes plus behind-the-scene footage.
Ooh, yes.
That you can only see in theaters, so I know I'm going to...
8 more minutes?
If you weren't bored long enough. Okay, sorry.
Why do you hate that movie so much, man?
Campea, he's a hater.
The funny thing
kidding.
is, I actually don't hate it.
like-
I actually
you just
think,
like
I
poke
actually
it.
think it's
You
a
just
pretty
like to
okay
poke.
movie. I just don't like it
How
as
many
much as
people
everybody.
like Arrival? Raise your hand.
Love it. Love it.
You know what?
Favorite movie of the year.
I do, but it does show that friction begets friction. When people push that way, then someone pushes back.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
and that's like.
And
That's
to
what
be
happens
honest, I
online,
mean,
right?
I give it a really hard time. I actually did not walk. I don't hate that movie. I
Yeah.
don't hate. I just don't think it's as good as all of
I get
you.
it. I get it.
think.
All right, final question comes from Donald Long, who writes, who has the bigger mess in timelines, Terminator or X-Men?
Terminator, because X-Men makes it work.
Right, I agree.
Somehow, it's like
exactly
Terminator
right.
is just.
Yeah.
Although,
shocking
okay,
lot.
so but Terminator has like a built-in excuse device where like every movie's about time travel, so everything is completely changed up, right? You went without time travel. You went from one X-Men film with Sabretooth to another X-Men film with a totally different Sabretooth, who also happens to be Wolverine's brother, and they never address it. They never point out the problem with it. And again,
That's
it's
continuity, I guess. also,
Continuity
but
schmontinuity.
I know, but I think as far as the actual timelines go, continuity, yeah, it's a mess. But the timelines, Terminator is an absolute slop
That's a good
house.
point.
It
That's a
is,
good point.
There's so much going on with that movie that it just doesn't make sense. They didn't know how to fix it. They try to do stupid things with it, as where Jeremy points out.
Every
X-Men
fix,
had
the
some
tape
yeah.
unravels.
And X-Men was able to say, look, you know all those problems you have with some of the timelines? Well, it doesn't matter. They don't exist anyway because we just wiped them out with Days of Future Past. So
Right.
it's pretty much erased a lot of time there, too.
What was the movie with the other Sabretooth?
with the what?
With the
Wolverine.
other
Wolverine,
Sabretooth?
not
Origins.
Wolverine Origins.
Yeah, the
Origins,
one
Liev
with
Schreiber.
Ryan Reynolds when
And
he had his mouth shut.
I don't remember. I don't remember at all.
All right, guys, we ran a little bit over time. Sorry about that. But thank you so much for joining us for Movie Talk today. Don't forget, jump down to the comment section and leave your thoughts on any or all of the topics that we discussed here today. I want to thank the guy sitting at the table with me over there, Mr. Jon Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you
You
online?
can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp. And today at Meltdown Comics here in Hollywood, I'm signing my Slayer comic. It comes out today. Come on by, say hi. 7 o'clock, Meltdown Comics. It's in Hollywood.
Right over here, Mr. Jeremy Jahns. Where are you signing your comics?
Slayer! I'm signing my comics on YouTube and Twitter at Jeremy Jahns. Generally speaking, on the internet, that's where you can find me. And on the Verizon Go 90 network, my show, Awesome-tacular. New episodes on Friday. There's a new one up right now. We talk about all things fun and nerdy. Be there. It's a lot of fun.
Kristian Harloff, where can people find you skipping questions?
Twitter and Instagram. That's okay. I deserve it. Definitely deserve that one. Twitter and Instagram. I'm trying to clean up my league on every Friday and Tuesdays. Make sure you check that out. The movie trivia schmodown. Like I said, Friday, ETC, Tough Beats, playing round 3 again, and then Riley and Levine battle for a chance at a title shot down the line.
And by the way, I know a lot of people were pointing out they watched that Tough Beats match with ETC, and a lot of people point out you guys have no idea how much the day of the matches that Kristian has going on. Like, there's a million details coming out at once. He's trying to host the show. The fact that he doesn't mess more things up is amazing. So, like, he does an
That's what my
incredible
mother
job.
used to say to me.
That sounds like the greatest report card ever.
That's right. The fact that he doesn't mess more things
We don't know
up.
how he does it,
Right.
But he
he's
makes it
walking.
work.
Yep.
He tied his shoes today.
A B plus.
And over there, of course, we've got Ashley Mova.
Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Ashley Mova. Happy Wednesday, guys.
And, of course, Wendy Lee.
You can find me on YouTube at the Movie Couple channel and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
You guys can simply follow me on social media, on Twitter and on Facebook, just at Jon Campea. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. And until next time, bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.